Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Cinema Savvy. It is myself, George, bringing you a brand new review. And today I'm going to be reviewing Venom: The Last Dance, which is now out in cinemas worldwide, which could be, hopefully, the final ever Venom film. I'll be giving some thoughts on that. As you can tell, I've got a little bit of a different setup today. I just thought, you know what? A bit like Sony, I'm not going to give it my all when trying to cover this film because there are some strong thoughts that I didn't think I'd have before the film came out, but I'm going to get into them shortly. I'm going to keep this review spoiler free, so if you've seen it at the cinema, please don't comment any spoilers, but do let me know your thoughts on the film. And alongside that, if you want to find out other reviews, other videos we're working on, we've actually got a really busy couple of weeks coming up. We've got reviews for Superman, the Christopher Reeve story. We've got reviews for the John Williams documentary coming. Both of those are going to be across the next couple of days. We've got Penguin when the season finale runs. We've got Mount Rushmore every Tuesday. It's a very busy time at the channel, so it's been nice to get to the cinema tonight in a mighty crowd of 12 people at the IMAX for Venom 3. And as I said, I'm here to give those thoughts. And I guess it's best starting with heading into this film. What did I think? What my thoughts on the other two Venom films? And safe to be said, I don't know if I've been on the reviews for them on this channel, but I've not really had the best of times with them, if I'm brutally honest. I think the first one's one of the most disappointing films in memory. Not that my anticipations were that high to begin with, but when you saw Tom Hardy citing it in the interviews before the film came out, when you watched it yourself, you've got the likes of Riz Ahmed, you've got Tom Hardy, you've got Carey Mulligan. It's a really good cast, and it just fell apart, and it was Sony's doing. The second one, on the other hand, we get Woody Harrelson, we get Andy Serkis directing, and I had a better time with that. Stephen Graham's in it, and he's in this one. And the second one I enjoyed a little bit more, but I kind of knew what I was getting into heading into it. And this third one, calling it The Last Dance, is incredibly brave. I know Tom Hardy's Sony contract is expiring now. We, of course, had that credit sequence in No Way Home, which nothing came from it. So I'll be really blunt. I was quite sort of limp heading into this. I didn't bother trying to get into the press screening. I thought, you know what, I'll finish work, I'll watch it. I'll get it out of the way at the start of the weekend to get the review up. And safe to be said, I didn't have expectations as such, but even without having expectations, I found myself not enjoying myself, but just thinking within the first 2 minutes of this film that, okay, here we go again. How long's left? By the way, one of the longest credit sequences I think I've seen in Marvel. So heading into this, there wasn't much hype. But I do want to talk about Tom Hardy, who I do think 3 films in, this is his best performance as Venom. I don't know how far he is with producing at this point in time. I have a bonkers conspiracy theory that after him publicly slagging off the first one so much, the second one's basically a British cast. It was shot here. You brought in Andy Serkis as a director. Stephen Graham came on board. A lot of people he's worked with in the past. That seemed to click, like it was going to be Tom Hardy's production done on Tom Hardy's terms. And I feel it's been the same with the third one. There is a somewhat definitive ending in this third one, calling it The Last Dance, marketing it as the final Venom film, and without getting into spoilers, actually feeling like it is the end of this story. I do hope it is, because as much as I think this is Tom Hardy's best performance as Venom, I cannot help but think this is one of the biggest waste of talents Hollywood's had in the last decade or so. You look at his work on Peaky Blinders, you look at everything he's done with Christopher Nolan, the performances, his commitment to the roles he took on, and to see him as Venom and Eddie Brock was one of the best castings I remember happening in terms of announcements. Who could play this person? Will we get him opposite Tom Holland's Spiderman? Has always been the conversation, the dream. And to be frank, he's been let down by Sony. I'm not going to pinpoint it on directors or writers. He has been let down by the studio he signed his 3-picture deal with. And guess what? The 3-picture deal's done, and that's it apparently. I think they've wasted him, and I think it speaks volumes about the Sony Pictures universe of Marvel characters, the latest in a less than entertaining cinematic universe. But of course, Sony had to put their name at the forefront. Granted, they own the rights to Spider-Man, and they've made sure Spider-Man hasn't appeared in any of these films yet. We've had Madame Web this year, and Venom 1, Venom 2. We've got Kraven coming in December, unless they choose to delay it again. There has been so many entries, Morbius, and it's the most pointless cinematic universe ever. It's a studio trying to flex the muscles that they don't have. No one wants to see, everyone wants to see a Venom film. No one wanted to see the Morbius film. No one was asking for a Madame Web film. no one's really asking for a Craven film, but we're all going to see it for Adam Taylor Johnson. And I can't believe we're 3 films in, and we were able to get to 3 films, by the way, but it's such a shame. And you look at all the misguidance the studios had. You look at the history of Spider-Man on the big screen. I'm not going to cry about not getting Tobey's Spider-Man 4, but you look at the knock-on effect of Avi Arad making Venom be part of Spider-Man 3, how that essentially cost it the film. Sam Raimi never wanted Venom to begin with. He'd set up other storylines in the past. That fails somewhat, not financially, but then they go and scrap Spider-Man 4 and make The Amazing Spider-Man. The Amazing Spider-Man, which was copying Nolan films, it's the darker origin story. Let's not acknowledge the first Spider-Man film because there's this horrific trend where everyone was copying Nolan stuff back then. Then the Avengers came out and they said, okay, let's stop copying Christopher Nolan. The Avengers just made a load of money. Let's now do the Sony Spider-Man cinematic universe. And then The Amazing Spider-Man 2 happened. A film which has a credit scene to set up all the villains to make Oscorp the Avengers system of the whole thing. And to be frank, they wasted Andrew Garfield. They wasted so many talented actors. Then what happens? They get bailed out by the MCU, making a deal for Tom Holland to appear in MCU projects, Sony to retain the rights, etc., etc. Something that worked for both parties, and it did. But we still get to witness with films like Venom 3 just how abysmal they are as a studio in making these films. And you would think maybe 5 or 6 films into this universe, they might have learned their lessons, but no, they didn't. They got lucky with No Way Home. Things just happened to work out for the better. And guess what? Avi Arad got the biggest thanks in that credit. One of the cringiest credits I've ever seen in my life. And this is the problem that they have, is that it's a universe that nobody's asked for. I don't care it gets battered by critics. I don't care if audience members hate it. The Venom film, I think, had 800 million. The second one dropped to 500 million. Be very surprised if this third one made anything near that, maybe 300, 400 at a push. But it's diminishing returns. The other films are bombing. Craven's been delayed so many times. I hope it's okay. I would actually really like Craven to be okay. But can you really get your hopes up? At this point in time, you can't. And it all comes down to Sony's corporate greed. And that's where we are with this. What this film is setting up, bringing in Null, voiced by Andy Serkis. Great, we get Andy Serkis again. I don't know what the production pipeline is. If this was something added at the last minute, he's a forefront of the story, but it reeks of reshoots. It reeks of a last-minute CGI edition. And this is going to be a big bad moving forward for not the MCU, of course, for SPUMC. That was what they decided to call it, not me. And I don't know where we stand with that. Do the audience want a cinema? Do the audience basically want a Spider-Man cinematic universe without Spider-Man? I don't think they do. And you just know at some point, if they try and get Spider-Man in it, I know they've announced the Spider-Man 4 release date, it just feels like it's not going to work, which is a shame because there's a lot of talented people involved. And no doubt, if there were talented people within the studio that maybe knew the comics, that knew these characters, that had great stories to tell, they could probably make a good film or two. But it's Sony, so they won't. It will be Avi Arad's dream until the dream is done. And that's how it's always been. And Venom, sorry to detract it from a Venom review, but it goes into that system. It feels like it's part of Sony being Sony, not anything else. And I do think there is a story in here. As I said, the Venom stuff with Tom Hardy, the symbiote connection, that works okay in this film. But the rest of the film doesn't. The villains don't. The story doesn't. There's some outrageous set pieces. Some people may find some things entertaining. And if they do, fair play to them, they found something entertaining. But I just think it's a dead horse here. And where I stand with it is not talking disappointment, but someone would have said to me 10 years ago, there's going to be 3 Venom films starring Tom Hardy. I'd have been all over it. I thought, oh my fucking God, Tom Hardy's Venom. Perfect. I can't see what they're going to do. But this is the resolution of it, a Venom film dropping at the end of October that no one's going to care for and that people aren't going to talk about for the years to come. And whether one day they decide to do Venom properly in a different cinematic universe, in this cinematic universe, I think will rue it as a waste of Tom Hardy's talent. And I'm sure he knows that himself. But the good stuff that can come from it is the fact that Tom Hardy is free from his Marvel contract now. He can probably go back into some great films. I know he's done more TV than film in the last couple of years, and he keeps himself to himself. I know he spoke very well about this, but you cannot look at his career, his CV, his work, and not think he's been wasted with this, because he's such a phenomenal actor, but he is wasted. And that's down to Sony. I don't think that's down to any directors. They're a studio that when you sign that contract, you are signing your life away. People joke about the MCU, they joke about Star Wars, but these guys are a real bottom of the barrel. and it's going to continue to happen until something changes someday, which it won't, because it prints too much money to begin with. And even Venom storylines, we got a phenomenal one with the Spider-Man 2 game last year, an incredible story, but they just can't seem to get anything like that into the films. Animated wise, they're great. We got Spider-Verse, we got the sequel, which was great as well. So there is some hope for the Sony Pictures universe of Marvel characters. But until the meantime, Venom 3 is not one I'm really going to recommend as such. If you enjoyed the first two, you'd probably enjoy this one. If you didn't enjoy the first two, you're not going to enjoy this one. It's lesser in quality than the others, but I will say Venom 2, I think maybe because it's Carnage, maybe because it's Woody Harrelson, there's something going a bit more for the second Venom film. This one just felt like no stakes, no nothing. If it was a mapped out universe, Carnage would have been the villain in the third film, wouldn't he? But no, we got all of that chucked together last time. So I'm going to end this review somewhat quicker because I can't be bothered talking about films I've really disliked. It's not the worst film of the year, and it's not Sony Pictures Universe and Marvel characters' worst film of this year, but it is toward the bottom if I were to do that sort of list. And it is a shame that this is how this trilogy, the fact that's made it to a trilogy, rounds out. So that's going to do it for my review today. I hope you enjoyed it as much as it feels like a review. I hope I haven't spoiled anything too obvious. Other videos, I mentioned there's a lot of things happening on the channel. We're very busy at the moment. Lots of new things happening, lots of changes. And you can find out about our videos, everything like that on our social medias. So I don't know why I said videos twice. I think Venom's caused me to lose the plot, if I'm really honest with you. So linktree.com/cinemasavvy will get you through to our Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, letterbox. We're posting a lot more on Instagram and YouTube Shorts, clips of episodes, clips of reviews. So if you enjoy the shorter things, you can access them on there. And then maybe check out a couple of videos if you'd like that too. So that is going to do it for today. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you on the next one. Take care.